Oh, hello, and welcome to my video. Today we will be talking about my favorite aircraft of all time, the Panavia Tornado. Um, so I will mainly be talking about the British Royal Air Force version, so like the GR1 to GR4 variants and the F3s. Because I personally don't know much about the German or Italian versions, so quickly, let's figure out why the Tornado exists in the first place. In the 1960s, the British government had cancelled the TSR-2 low-level strike program and was looking for replacements for their aging Vulcan bomber fleet and their Blackburn Buccaneer fleet. They were in talks with Lockheed to buy the F-111 aardvarks, but those didn't go any further. At this point in the 1960s, the British government was working alongside the French government on the Anglo-French Variable Geometry Project, or AFVG, but that was cancelled in 1967 with the French withdrawing from the program. But the ideas from the AFVG would go on to heavily influence the Tornado's development. The German Air Force, or Luftwaffe, no, not the Nazi one, but the one that was reestablished in 1956. Anyway, the Luftwaffe was looking for a replacement for their F-104 starfighters and created the MRA, or Multi-Role Aircraft Program, with the Netherlands, Canada, Italy, and Belgium. By 1968, Canada and Belgium had pulled out of the program for their own reasons, and it was renamed the Multi-Role Combat Aircraft Project, but I will refer to it as the MRCA throughout this part of the video. Anyway, in 1970, the three remaining nations plus the United Kingdom had joined on by that point, and they created the Panavia Aircraft Company to manage the MRCA program. Shortly after that, the Netherlands pulled out of the company and the MRCA program. The UK took on 42% of the workload, and Germany took on the other 42%, and leaving the remaining 15% for Italy. It's about time we jump into some of the Tornado's manufacturing. With the UK joining the program, its formidable aviation industry came in. The UK would be in charge of the front fuselage tail to the British Aircraft Corporation, which is now BAE. It was BAC. When the center part of the fuselage went to the Germans with MBB, or Messerschmitt, Bolkow, Blom. I butchered that, didn't I? Which is now part of Airbus. The wings went to, I'm going to butcher this, Artilia, which is now Leonardo. Now that I've offended the Italians by butchering my pronunciations, let's get onto the engines. Turbo Union was established to create the RB199 turbofan engines, with Rolls-Royce and the German NTU Engines Company taking the lead development of the engines. Originally, there was a bit of infighting with the Germans and Italians wanting single seats, and the British wanting a tandem double seat version. Ultimately, the British won out, with the Tornado only being a double seat aircraft. On August 14th, 1974, the Tornado took its first flight in Germany. It emerged in testing that the aircraft was capable, without armament, to reach supercruise. Quickly, for people who aren't into aviation, supercruise is when an aircraft can reach Mach 1 or supersonic without its afterburners, because it normally needs those. Anyways, let's get back to the Tornado. Let's real quickly go over the variants of the Tornado at the time of its introduction. The UK had purchased the GR1 version, meaning ground attack and reconnaissance. I may be wrong, that's what I know it as. The Germans and Italians both operating the IDV, or Interdictor Strike variant, or the ADV, Air Defense variant. I think it's about time that we talk about the specs, because I've been going on for the history for too long. The Tornado had RB199 engines, as previously mentioned. It was a turbofan type engine capable of 15,000 pounds of thrust, a little lower than the F-111 in the last video. The RB199 was especially unique, with it being capable of reverse thrust, which is a rarity among afterburning aircraft. As you have also probably noticed, the Tornado has variable geometry. The wings were capable of sweeping to 65 degrees during supersonic flight. There was one downside with the Tornado, though. Those giant external fuel tanks that you see, it couldn't fly supersonic with those on. So it was rare for a pilot to go supersonic in the Tornado in general. Another thing the Tornado is well known for is its TFR, or terrain following radar, and autopilot mix. The TFR was vital for the aircraft to perform its low-level strike role. The TFR would sense the area around the aircraft and feed it into the aircraft's autopilot, allowing the aircraft to fly hands-off, dodging obstacles while flying under 200 feet. The lowest it could go was 50. It's insane, I know. This was revolutionary while not being the first aircraft capable of using TFR and autopilot mix. It was the first to be able to go so low and so fast while doing it. I have to mention, this was in the 1970s where computers weren't all that powerful. Also, did I mention they used a cassette tape for the autopilot, which is insane? Pretty much meaning it was analog. Computer nerds can come after me in the comments. The Tornado was truly revolutionary. Enough about the technical specs, let's talk about the armament. I think everybody that has the slightest knowledge about the Tornado has seen that awesome footage about the GR-1 deploying its JP-223 runway denial weapon. The JP-223 carried 30 runway cratering bomblets and 215 anti-personnel mines that would spread across an airfield to make sure it could not be used or repaired. The GR-1 would carry 2 of these on one anti-runway run. The Germans also had their own version of the JP-223, or like cluster munition, which was the MW-1, which had less of a purpose, well, like direct purpose like the JP-223, and was just a munitions dispenser. The rest of the Tornado's armament was not that unique, with your standard dumb bomb and guided bombs being equipped over the years. The dumb bombs were less dumb on the Tornado, I guess if you could say, because the Tornado had a system where the navigator, or for the Americans, weapons system officer, would input the target and the system would calculate the point in which the pilot would pull up and release the bombs using a tactic called loft bombing or toss bombing for Americans. Towards the end of the first Gulf War, which I'll get to later, the British Tornadoes were equipped with laser targeting pods for its medium level strikes, which would become standard on the GR4 version later on. Now on to the operations. The GR-1's first try at combat was during the 1991 Gulf War, where it used its JP-223 runway denial weapons and loft bombing system with 1,000 pounders, or just 1,000 pound bombs, to attack Iraqi airfields. 6 RAF Tornadoes and 5 aircrew were lost during the Gulf War and Operation Granby. All attacks by... Well, the GR-1s attacked Iraqi airfields. The F-3, the RAS version of the ADV, or Air Defense version, protected the skies above. After the war, the GR-1s went on to operate in Kosovo in 1999 from RAF Bruggen, which was one of the Tornado's home bases in Germany. The Tornado's role in Kosovo was not too dissimilar to its role later on in the Gulf War, which was using Pravoy smart bombs and anti-ground missiles to attack strategic targets. That anti-ground missile being the AGM-65 Maverick. Only 4 years later, the Tornado would see action once again, but it was back in Iraq this time, with the United States and the United Kingdom's 2003 invasion of Iraq, with the same role of strategic strike and air support. In regards to the F-3, also it was doing air support. That's what I mean. Also, inevitably, the Tornado served in Afghanistan during the War on Terror, but withdrew with all other British forces in 2015. By this time, the airframe was almost 40 years old and on its 4th upgrade, the GR4 variant, and the Typhoon had already been introduced and was capable of similar roles, so the RAF decided to retire the Tornado in 2019. But it did not go out without a bang. A group of 9 Tornadoes flew around the UK in a diamond formation over most of its operational bases, and the RAF College ran well. Just because the RAF had retired the Tornado didn't mean it was dead. To this day, which is on recording November 26, 2023, the German Luftwaffe continues to operate 88 Tornadoes and the Italian Air Force operates 37. The Panavia Tornado, in my opinion, is one of the shining examples of international cooperation to create a useful, reliable, and most importantly, beautiful aircraft. Thank you so much for watching this video. It took a very long time to make. Please consider subscribing. Goodbye.